Let's call this meeting of the Oconee County Planning Commission to order. Our first order of business is invocation. Mr. Garland, please.
Sure. Dear Heavenly Father, you know the minds and the hearts of all men and women. Please allow this time to be spent with guidance from you as we try to do what's right for our constituents. Please bless all the good things that are happening in our county. We're thankful for the beauty of our county, and we're appreciative of all the work that goes into keeping our county viable, and bless this time that we have together. Amen.
Amen. Amen.
Sure. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, ma'am. All right, before we do approval of minutes, I need a motion to postpone item number 8 on the agenda until our next meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Could you say why?
There was an error on their application that needs to be corrected before you have a hearing, or before you make a recommendation on it.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Anything else? All those in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous?
Thank you, guys. All right, we have no one signed up for public comment. Commission member comments? Anybody?
I'd like to thank the few in the crowd that are here today, more than last time. That's all, Mr. Chairman.
I had to take a vacation.
Staff comment?
Just real briefly, SCDOC will be here next month, and Mr. Root has also indicated he could potentially be ready for your next meeting as well. Sorry, not next month, your next meeting. Both those items.
Right. Anybody got anything else? No.
Mr. Chairman, we want to approve the minutes. Did we miss that?
Did I skip right over that one?
You did.
Okay. I need a motion to approve the minutes for the September 18th meeting.
Moved.
Second.
Any corrections? Misspelled words? If none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Am I back up to where I need to be now?
You are.
All right, let's go ahead and start with our only item on the agenda, discussion regarding county roads with Mr. Kyle Reed. The floor is open for any questions.
Did we give Kyle what we were looking for last time?
Did he tell you what we wanted?
Just to discuss the process that roads got picked for road paving and maintenance, things like that is what I'm.
Maintenance and repair and things like that.
And priority.
Yep.
All right, you got anything you want to start with, or you just want us to start with questions?
If y'all would like, I can go through an overview, or if y'all want to
That'd be
just.
great.
Yeah, let's
Okay.
do it.
So, for road paving, which is our paving contracts, we have a list of roads that go through PCI, which is pavement condition index. 0 to 100, 100 being the best, 0 being the worst. We take that list, look at the roads, look at the condition. That's kind of more of an overview, a broad overview of the condition of the roads. We go out and we start looking at roads that we feel like need to be considered, take public feedback, comment throughout the year. If anybody calls in and says, hey, I'd like to see, my road to be looked at being paved, and we'll go out there and look at it. Then we compile a list, try to look at the funding, look at the, how heavily the roads traveled. When we look at PCI, worst first is not the prevailing wisdom now, but at times you kind of got to handle those roads. But, the roads that are more heavily traveled, we will go and repair it with a higher PCI just because it is more likely to degrade quicker than the other roads that we'd be looking at, and more people travel those roads. So we try to compile that list, based on the amount of funding that we think we'll get. Funding comes through the county, through millage. I believe that the council graciously added another mill to the road paving this past budget. And then we'll see what other funding we can get as far as generally, the other one is the C-Fund Committee that is a delegation, appointed by the delegation. And they normally work pretty well with us as far as providing us funding for our road paving contracts. And that's road paving. As far as maintenance on roads, priorities, anything in the road first is the priority. Potholes, tree limbs, trees, whatever it may be, water standing in the road, stuff like that. And then gravel roads, obviously condition of the gravel roads, whether it's potholed or washboarded or what it may be. And we'll go and try to take care of those as quickly as we can. Mowing is something that we've always kind of put an emphasis on. This year's been a little harder than most as far as employees and tractor breakdowns, stuff like that. We're about 2 months behind on mowing, so if y'all are getting calls on mowing, then it's probably fair, and that's why we're behind, and we're trying as best as we can to catch up with keeping tractors on the road and keeping them mowed.
I guess mowing and tree trimming and things like that come out of the same fund as the potholes and.
We are funded out of the 10 account to the extent of like the people and the like supplies and minimal stuff like that. The vast majority of the work is funded by the special revenue account. So potholes, tree trimming, all that is funded by special revenue account. Equipment is funded by the capital equipment replacement fund. And that's a pot that all the county departments except for fire pull out of.
So I have a question. What is PCI?
All right.
I'm sorry.
It's all right.
Pavement condition index.
Okay.
Pavement condition index. There's several different ways that you can look at. There's several different names that they go by, but that's the one that we picked for. We had and forgive my voice and drinking. I'm trying to clear my throat, but we had a company come in and do a assessment of the roads 7 years ago, 8 years ago, and that's what we base off our PCI. But again, that was more of an overview of the county, and we go out and look at them individually before we select them.
You said your funding came from, a lot of it came from that 1% millage or one millage.
No, I'm sorry, they added a mill.
They added a
I
millage.
apologize.
I'm sorry. Do you not get a portion of the gas tax money?
That is the C-Fund Committee. Yeah, a certain portion of that has to go to DOT roads. The line share is set aside for DOT roads. But
Right.
they fund the cities, they fund us, they fund economic development projects throughout the county, does stuff like that. But that is the gas tax, the C-Fund Committee.
Okay.
I got a question. In general, I've been told that if you're riding down a road and you see white lines on the side, that's a state road.
Yes.
And if you don't see white lines, I'm assuming it's a county road. Is that,
County or private, but
okay?
yeah.
Okay,
It just depends on where you are and what road you're on. But yes, if they have white lines, then generally that's going to be a state road.
one of the reasons I even mentioned that is because if someone happens to be listening to this, they can kind of define, county versus
Yeah.
state.
Yeah, and
Now-
if somebody's listening, then I would tell them that they can go to the county website, oconiasc.com. They can go to departments. There's drop downs on the top. They can go to departments and it'll drop down and it'll say GIS. If you click on GIS, you can go to Web Maps, and there is a county road map, and it will show you every single road in the county, and it's color coordinated for like state highways is black, state roads, I believe, are blue.
Does it designate for gravel roads?
No, it does not designate for gravel roads, but there's different colors, and they can click on it, and if it will say, you know, SE, WA, WH is a road number. If it's got that 2-letter designation, then that's generally a county road unless it's like FW, and that's Foxwood Hills. And those are yellow though. So ours are green. Those are yellow. And then like Forest Service, roads, state roads, it would be an S dash something.
Okay.
So
What I was trying to get to is, do you have a feel for the percentage of roads in our county that are county roads?
Us to the DOT, and don't hold me to the DOT number because I'm not as familiar, but I believe centerline miles, the DOT is around 800, 850, somewhere around in there. The county is 660. 160 of that is gravel, 500 of that is paved. And then there's several private roads, driveways, drives. And then
But y'all don't
Foxwood
maintain
Hills.
those?
No.
Yeah.
And Foxwood Hills is private, Chickasaw is private, but all those have really big road systems. Kiwi Key, same way.
Okay, now this again, these are questions sort of like to fill in for the general public, hopefully if
Yeah.
somebody's interested. Okay, so let's shift to bridges, because I know bridges cost a lot when you've got one down. The other thing is that you're gonna end up having to reroute traffic sometimes if it's.
Yes.
So can you kind of spend a little bit of time just informing us, how bridges might be considered different in the priority?
So for us, the priority is roads that are restricted weight-wise and width-wise. The last one we did was Cherokee Lake Road, one side of Cherokee Lake Road. And that's how we prioritize. The DOT 2 years ago, I believe, changed the way that they do weight loading, and now you see way more posted bridges than we ever had before. So now we're all kind of working around trying to figure out where we put our priorities at, and mainly just trying to get our equipment around, because a lot of the stuff that we pull is going to be overweight for those bridges that now they're posted. So we try to make sure that we can provide access to us and others, you know, trying to carry equipment across to get to a point. And then the other thing is right away. And
Okay,
a lot
as
of the
far
bridges
as
we don't have right away.
Maintenance of bridges, do y'all have someone going out and inspect them every so often?
The DOT does yearly.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the DOT does yearly. They send us yearly
Even though it's a
inspection
county
reports. Yes.
road,
They
they-
inspect there, like DHEC goes and inspects dams, the DOT does for bridges.
Okay.
So they send us a report, and then we make up work orders and go out there.
Now, this is just in general. How are we doing as far as bridges are concerned in our county, on county roads? You got a good feel for, we're
Fair.
strong? or
Yeah.
we-
Fair, we do have millage for culverts and bridges, that we use to do those projects. We hold up okay. The biggest problem that we run into for us, for the road department, county road department, is a lot of the bridges, when they were put in, they were built, with, timbers or, not really built with abutments, and beams going across those timbers. And the end treatment was, sometimes putting in, concrete roadway slabs to try to retain the earth. Well, that hasn't worked out as well, and we get a lot of issues where the approaches are for bridges. That's probably mainly our biggest issue, and the weight restriction, because they are older. Some of them are older, and the DOT's new way of loading the bridges is made more come into that loading, need to be posted.
I know most people would be interested in knowing, what are we doing to maintain our bridges? Because the way I look at it is, paving is one thing. You can still make it to where you're going, but if a bridge is out, you might be 7 miles out of the way trying to get it to another way. So, to me, bridges
Yeah.
are really important as far as the public is concerned.
Right.
So when they see a detour, oh, I didn't know this bridge was in such bad shape, is there anything going on to educate the public as to which bridges are the ones that might be defective? Not defective
Yeah,
in
we don't want
the
to say defective,
point
yeah.
of not being able to use it, but
Right.
defective in, hey, this is one of our oldest bridges. It's got the pylons, the timber, it's most likely to fail. So
They are all full service, and generally you don't have that kind of a failure on a bridge. Normally they're found during inspection. The biggest problem we have is culverts, because they're under the ground and you can't necessarily see all the problems until the culvert's gone, and the roadway's gone. So that's the biggest issue is culverts, and checking those and making sure that we keep those clean, because a lot of it is debris getting in the ends of it, starting to vortex, and then it'll take the soil out around it, and then it takes the whole road out.
I have heard of a bridge, having so much weight put on it by a passing vehicle that, not in this county, but that it destroyed the bridge.
Oh,
It
yeah,
couldn't be used
no,
anymore.
it can definitely
So-
happen. That's the
but-
point, that's the point in posting all of it.
Just for the general public, how is someone supposed to keep someone from loading a bridge? There's not enforcement sitting out there going, hey, wait a second, I think that's too heavy.
That would be a CDO driver, and every CDO driver is responsible for their own load and knowing what they're hauling, what the weight is.
So there's no way of keeping them from going across it if they really want to.
No, there's nobody out there enforcing,
Okay.
somebody driving across a bridge.
Just in
Now-
general,
now
thanks a
if-
lot.
if-
Those are all the questions I
If
had.
police see them, then obviously they're gonna, and that's a major fine for going over a posted bridge overweight. So, yeah, I mean, there's consequences. It's just, if somebody sees them, yes, sir, there are consequences, but that would only be the law enforcement.
Okay, thank you.
Go ahead.
What is the turnaround, like, say I call you today and say there's a pothole in whatever road, and I know it's a county road, what is the turnaround in getting that pothole fixed?
Generally, we try to get to them in that week, if we can, yeah.
5 days,
Yeah.
roughly.
Depending on, now, if you tell me, it depends on, like, Cobb Bridge is one on pavement contract, and Cobb Bridge is really bad about delaminating. Where it was paved and then paved again, those layers are coming off. So, like, that's not likely to knock somebody out of the road or damage their vehicle. It's more of a rideability kind of an issue, because it's a three-quarter of an inch overlay, and it's harder to fill. But we still gonna get to it. But then there's the ones that, if they're, in the road, in the travel lane, and, and they're deeper, they are more substantial than that, then, yeah, those are the ones that we're gonna focus on more than anything.
I just had a gentleman up in the Salem area, remember I talked to you about before?
Yes.
He said it'd been forever and nobody wanted to get up there and fix it. I know y'all been up there now and got it.
That is a crossover between jurisdictions.
I know, it's
Whenever it's a state road, their right of way is theirs to maintain.
State and county.
But we went out and
But-
fixed the apron to get it fixed.
I mean, I know y'all did, but I mean, he was going, I've called this and I called that, and I said, you hadn't called the right one.
Yeah.
And, but I appreciate y'all getting
Yeah,
that one fixed.
no problem, no problem. Oh, I think you were next. I'm sorry, I'm not trying to.
Actually, I got a few questions for you. And first thing I want to tell you, you got a good crew out there.
Thank you.
They've done a good job up in my area, time and time again, and you can tell their professionalism that they have.
I appreciate that, and I'll let
They do a
Steve
great
know.
job. So I have one of my questions is, what is the cost for paving per mile in this county?
That's something that we're having to kind of look at again, because it's been, a year and a half since we paved. But the last one, I believe, was up to 215,000 a mile.
And upkeep, the gravel roads versus the paved roads, what's the cost of upkeep between the two?
That's harder to pin down, because it depends on how much gravel you have to put on it. It depends on how wide or narrow it is. Surprisingly, a narrower road is way harder to maintain. So they're having to spend a lot more time to try to keep the crown in it than they would. So it is. I do not have a number, so I'd hate to speculate a number or whatever else. But as far as manpower and time, a gravel road is more.
By how much? I know you stated earlier you have 500 miles of paved road.
Well, we have, we should have eventually a 5-man crew paving roads. You know, that's what we have. And then we have a four-man motor grader route and a 5th man that runs the gravel spreading truck. So you got 5 people dedicated to the surface, and they're just dealing with the surface of paved roads, and you have 5 people dedicated to the surface of gravel roads, and we have 160 and 500.
Okay.
So
looking into the future, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, what additional equipment do you see that you're going to need? What new areas are you wanting to venture into, and what would you do different?
The easy answer is more people and that kind of stuff. The only thing that I see more than anything is it is a slow process for us to patch roads, because we saw cut the asphalt, and then we use a excavator to dig it up and load it on a truck and haul it off. Whereas the majority of people now, the normal standard is a milling machine. So milling machine would be my answer to that. Yeah.
That's pretty much all I have.
To whom do you present your needs and wants
Administrator.
Pardon me?
Administrator.
Oh, to Ms. Brock?
Yes, ma'am. Ms. Brock.
Are you a subset of a committee,
Am I a subset of a committee?
like transportation? Do you not?
Oh, yes, Transportation Committee is ours, yeah.
When
But
was
that's not generally me submitting needs to them. That's generally, if there's any business that deals directly with the Transportation Committee, then that's when they call those meetings. So generally, and most of the time, it's either for information, which, we've had those meetings, but most of the time, it's the things that we can't do. Like I can't abandon a road, and even council can't abandon a road. That takes the court. That's got to go to a court to abandon a public road or accepting the county road, and only council can do that. So when there's stuff like that needs their attention, if I have something that somebody's wanting to abandon a road or say wanting to add a road in, then that's when the Transportation Committee normally convenes for those kind of things.
But, so you've met with the committee before, and you've given like a list of new construction, right? Is that part of what you do, and you give action items and it goes on to council or stuff like that?
We normally do that through the budget process. If we built a road or whatever else, then that normally gets put in our budget documents for them to review as far as, the funding that they give us or the funding that they're looking at allocating for our department, whatever it may be. But generally, if they ask for an update, then yes, but no, generally not just updating them on the.
When's the last time you met with the transportation committee?
I'm not sure when the last meeting was. It's been a little bit. It was, the discussion, I believe, was about abandoning, forgive me.
Dinky Road.
Dinky Line in Thornburg. Yes, ma'am. Thank you. So that was the last one that we discussed. That was the last thing that I've had to bring to them. And I assume that they, generally, if a council person has anything for me, then they'll call, and they don't direct me, because they can't direct me they can't direct the department, but they can tell me about a complaint or whatever that they're having, so we can go look at it and see what the thing is. And no, we don't prioritize things based off of council calling, but it's generally generally if it's bigger than that, just something real simple, then they go through the administrator, and the administrator calls me if it's something that just needs action and they need, that's what she's going to provide to me. This is what I'm needing you to do, but it's very rare that I get any direction from that end. It's normally, this needs to be fixed, and we go out and fix it. So yeah, we generally, like with the problems that they're having or seeing, and thankfully in most of them, and I hate to speak for them, so I'm not gonna speak for them, but generally, there's not a lot that they call us for. Now, it's grass cutting. That's what they're getting most of the calls for that I've been told, so. That we don't have, we try to be as responsive as we can, and we try to, if somebody calls us, a citizen calls us, then we understand that they have a problem, and if they're not gonna pick up the phone and call us if they didn't have an issue. So we try to be as proactive as we can to address their problems. Now, a lot of times, there's nothing we can do. If it's like a water problem that's going downhill and there's no way for it, there's not much we can do, but we can go try and help them and try to explain, this is what you could do or whatever, may help their situation on their property. But if it's something we can use and something we can do, then we try to be as proactive as we can be to where people aren't calling council.
So you got another mill in the budget? Is that
Yes.
what I heard? So do you know what that equates to in dollars?
I do not know yet. I know that they set the millage, but I'm not sure yet. I know that I heard the number, but not where I would repeat it in this meeting. But I know it's been Miss Hubbard put it out with her report, but substantial. I mean, substantial for us because that's a fair amount of money to get more done.
You think it's enough for what you need
Do I think it's enough for it?
to fix the roads?
A lot of the problem that we have with our roads, and I'll say this, as far as the funding goes and all that other stuff, and everything comes with a thought to, what kind of level of service are you going to provide? You can pave every road, and you can pave every road every year, and you're going to be paying out the nose and isn't necessary, or you can. But when we had the assessment done, our roads were at 72, I believe, and again, don't quote me on that, but they were in a good range of what the roads should be. I know that there's a lot of concern as far as roads and I'm not trying to assign, one way or another, but for a lot of the stuff that we do, what would be a massive problem like hitting a pothole, and that's a big problem for somebody, and that's money and wear and tear and all that other stuff. So we're very cognizant of that. But a pothole is not a huge detriment to a whole road, to a 660-mile road system. It's something to go fix, and that's what we do. So I know that there's a lot of discussion as far as the way the roads are looked at, but and I know this would be, I guess this is anecdotal to it to a point. I'm more concerned about the drainage. I'm more concerned about our drainage than I am the sides of the road, the condition of the roads. As far as what condition they're in, our drainage is in worse condition than the road surfaces, in my opinion.
Because that relates to accidents, are you talking about?
No, it's
Just
the life of the road.
the
It's the
integrity of the
lifeblood of the
road?
road, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, if you
'Cause
don't, if you don't have good drainage.
I
then
am
you-
worried about people hitting slick spots in the road because,
I'm not speaking to water sitting on the road. If we ride it, we work when it rains, and that's, one of the things or whatever with the county, but we work when it rains. But that's what they're doing, is they're going out and looking at these places, and if they see a place where somebody's gonna hydroplane, then it's a shovel. And you can cut that off, and you can get that out pretty quick.
it's nice to know
General.
they're doing that.
How many of our county roads have, what do you call it, the ability for y'all to work on the side of the road, right of ways?
Oh, all of
I
them,
know
all of
that.
them have some sort of right of way, but the issue that we have is that most is prescriptive.
I mean, like the road going into Sunil Road doesn't
Yeah,
have,
that's
you don't have
prescriptive.
anything.
Just
I mean,
what we
pavement,
maintain is the
pavement.
top of the bank. No, we cut the grass, so we maintain what we mow, what we ditch, what we mow, any of that.
Ditches.
Oh, there is. It's about that deep and it's about that far off the side of the road. But yeah.
But I mean, what do y'all do? This is just information for everyone else. but
Yeah.
What do y'all do when y'all come in a situation like that where y'all don't have any right of way, y'all, really maybe a foot off each side of the road and that's it? How do you maintain those roads and keep them?
We maintain them how they are, where they are, put them back to the condition they were, that serviceable condition. So we can't just go and, blow out the ditches and say, well, we need a 6-foot shoulder. We're gonna move all these ditches over, 8 foot to get going down in the ditch and come back up. We can't do that. So all we do is we maintain what's there.
A lot of our conversation came up because we've been talking about development standards and things like that.
Right.
And with all the additional development that's going on in the area, some things the DOT is looking at, some things you all are looking at, depending on where it's accessed. So two-part question. One, can you kind of tell us what your role is within the development? When you get it, are you getting it at the right time? Is there something that the Planning Commission should be doing to get a development concept to you sooner? Is kind of one question. The other is I guess, is there anything that we need to do to help you all as far as trying to get the developer to be more responsible for some of the deceleration lanes or turn lanes or road expansion or right-of-ways or things like that, so that you're not working with your hands behind your back, tied behind your back, that you're able to be proactive with some of these big new subdivisions that are kind of coming down the pike?
Yes, so, on new subdivisions, we don't have much of an issue on any of that except for them coming after everything's said and done and offering. So we'll go through all the process and go through all the steps, and then they won't come back to offer them to the county, and they stay private. But as far as the review, here recently, there's been a lot, and it's time consuming to review all the subdivisions or whatever. But as far as anything from planning or anything from the developer, I guess it's just a function of the time that we're in, of a lot of people wanting to build here. So, no, it's, we work well with planning. I think we work well with y'all whenever y'all have a question on any of that stuff. I don't know of anything that would change. The only thing I've told James, I'd like to have a set of plans, because it's hard to review on a computer.
Gotcha. We were just, especially when the development, the Kiwi River project down 130 there, we were talking about that. We were talking about where their access points were going to be.
Right.
Deceleration lanes and things of that nature. Well, obviously, that's a DOT function, and we're going to be
Right.
meeting with DOT here in the future.
But generally, they pay for all that, every upgrade that they pay for. And it's in our ordinance that if they want to develop on an existing county road, then if it has, if they go over a certain amount, if they change the classification of the road, then they have to upgrade that
And
county
they're
road.
responsible for it.
Yeah, and then that's, right away and all that other stuff too. So, as far as that stuff is concerned, the newer developments, those are, I guess, more cut and dried, more regulation and ordinances put to them. A lot of the other stuff is not. And, that's, so for years here, we didn't pave roads without right of way. For whatever reason that was, that they decided not to do that. Now, we're looking at, like, Cobb Bridge doesn't have right of way, but we're gonna pave Cobb Bridge maintenance overlay on Cobb Bridge. And then that's what we're trying to get to with some of these roads that haven't been done for a while. And I'm sorry that doesn't completely correlate
No,
with the
it-
question,
it-
but that just stream of consciousness.
Definitely helps. We just want to make sure that we see these big developments coming in on an older county road, and wanting to make sure there are at least some stop gaps in
Yes,
place
and yep.
to kind of regulate that.
Yes, sir, and we do look at that, and then they have to do traffic impact studies on the roads. Some of the ones up Kiwi Turtle Head that have come in here recently, they did the same thing, but the roads were already 22 foot wide, and their traffic impact wasn't enough to change those classifications, so they were good. So yeah, that is looked at on every subdivision that comes in. It's over, I believe it's 11 lots or more. That's when that triggers for looking at the existing road system.
These traffic impact studies, is this a study on the traffic that the road has now, or is that a study on what the road would have if said subdivision was in place?
Now and future. So they tell you, they take a baseline of what it is now, and then they tell you what the build out's gonna be, depending on what kind what kind of subdivision it is. It changes, you know, if it's single-family residential, it's got a number on it. If it's, you know, lake residential, then it's got another number on it. And that's what they come up with, the traffic count for those subdivisions.
So this little, I call it Little Walhalla, that's gonna be on 130, that should have, I mean, they should be all kind of improvements to 130 with that many homes. I mean, there'll be, if that whole subdivision fills up, if every place sells, there'll be more, population be bigger in that than there is in Walhalla.
Yeah, I'm sorry. That's DOT, so.
But I'm just saying, you know, is there not, does even the state,
No, we do not control DOT roads, so we don't have anything. in
do
our
they not
ordinance to
require,
control.
I mean, from
They
your
do.
knowledge?
They
do
do. They do
require
have a-
them to do something with the
Yeah,
road?
they
if
do
there's
have
gonna be
requirements
Such a
for-
huge,
They have requirements, I'm not sure where they are, but I know that they do have requirements to
question
look
for
at. Yeah, for
next
Mr. Russell, yes, sir.
next time.
Yep.
So I have a question.
Yep.
You're just talking about the impact studies. What is the traffic for a minor road versus a major road here in the county?
400 and under is local minor,
Okay,
400 to 8.
And
Go ahead,
that's
I'm sorry.
a 20-foot wide road?
Yes,
Okay.
Yep.
400 and under, okay.
and then 400 to 800 is major, and then 800 above is collector, and then arterial is left up to planning and road department. Yes, sir.
So do you have any influence over the state roads at all? I mean, do you like suggest, hey, you have a problem here that you're not fixing? Do you suggest things to them, or that just doesn't happen?
Well, I mean, we have a really good relationship. You know, a lot of people call them for our roads, and a lot of people call us for our road, you know. So they will turn stuff in on ours, and we'll turn stuff in on theirs to let them know, hey, you got this issue here, especially where where we intersect into them.
Right.
And generally, we've had a really good working relationship with the DOT, to that end. But no, as far as like they have way more people than, they have way more people to worry about that than I have time to worry about.
Is there a lot of people from the state working in this area?
Oh, yeah, I mean, the district, you got.
I mean, that's just something
you got-
we really don't see.
You got a lot of
don't
that.
really see it,
A lot of
you know?
that, a lot of that kind of stuff, the planning and that kind of stuff comes out of the district. So that comes from the Greenville office, of them coming and looking at roads and.
Right.
And then, obviously you got the local maintenance guys and local engineering guys, that are doing the projects.
Right.
Around the county.
Dave?
Two questions.
Sorry. Yep.
First is, if you could suggest any improvements in our county ordinances pertaining to roads and bridges, are there any improvements that you would like to see?
So for me, as being roads and bridges, subdivisions are difficult to maintain. I don't know what the majority of the county would be gaining from continuing to take subdivision roads. If the majority of the county doesn't use those roads. That would be my thing. And then they have a lot of things like covenants, restrictions, or whatever else. Well, we don't tie to their covenants and restrictions, but there's a lot of moving parts in a subdivision. That's probably the most difficult thing for us as far as like county roads, just old country roads, whatever you want to say, farm market roads or what they used to be. The right to work them, but that'll never come. I'm not somebody that's going to say that we need to be doing eminent domain ever. I wish people had more thought that we're trying to help everybody that's using that road instead of trying to hurt that one individual homeowner, that kind of thing. But that's kind of the view of, that's the, right there at my place view. But generally, and 99% of the time, the people I come across, even when they're blazing mad at us, generally they calm down and they come to understand that we're just out there trying to make the road passable and safe. So even with that, there's very few people that remain just completely dead set against what we're trying to do and what we're, whatever on that end that we have to those are hard, you know, those, when you get into something like that and somebody's planted there was, you know, a cherry tree in one subdivision and we had to call the cops. I mean, the
Your
lady
biggest-
wasn't moving out of the way.
So your biggest gripe as far as our ordinance structure is how we address subdivisions and taking them over or not.
Yeah, and then, you know, there's some other things as far as like, you know, the subdivision roads fall under like any general county road, like if you built the belt line in Anderson. That's how subdivisions are designed for us, or built for us. So, I mean, there's some wiggle room. There's not a ton. I think it still needs to be tied to, you know, sound engineering. You don't want to sit there and say, you can build every subdivision and say you can do it at 5 miles an hour and have hardly any vertical curves or any horizontal curves, because pretty much they're designed at 25, but most people go 35, 40. And so, I mean, you know, you can go too far one way.
So one more question. I don't know if this is a valid question or not. You guys remember the tail wheelie that was in the paper not too long ago? I don't know if that was talking about DOT workers or county workers, where they really threw you guys under the bus. Do you have any response to that?
Any response, you talking about the one where they said that they went to,
Yeah.
down all the way to Spotted Pig? No, well, yeah, one, if you ever get around to construction workers and, you know, you're gonna hear all sorts of things out of context of the conversation that they're having. I mean, you know, my guys do good work. My guys work hard. There's a lot of stuff going on and we are severely short-staffed. What they said at the Spotted Pig to a bunch of other DOT guys, man, I don't know. You know, it can be any manner of things that got said, whether or not it was out of context or whatever, but all my guys are very clear. And then the only problem that bothers me out of my stuff is not, so if you're talking about like the management side of it, saying that I'm on my phone a lot and I'm in the office all the time and whatever else, yeah, that's fair. I'm me. So Anderson's got like 10 of me. Greenville's got a ton of me. Before me was another county engineer and he had me. And we had another person in the office that did the same kind of work. No, yeah, I mean, it's fair. I am in the office a ton. I am on my phone a ton. You know, all this stuff is all these conversations and stuff get worked through.
I just wanted to hear it from the.
But as far as like them driving from Salem and going all the way to Fairplay, no, they ain't supposed to be doing that. And they know that. They all know that. I mean, we do try to make it where on their last day, for camaraderie wise or whatever else, they can go get it. They can go eat. They can go have a sit down meal and have a decent meal, but they're supposed to stay in a proximity of where they're working.
Good question.
Yeah, man.
What are we doing when it comes to the county roads that are merging into the state roads? A lot of the county roads are less than, they're a very acute angle coming into them, so it
Yes.
gives you a blind spot. How are we working with the state to rectify those issues?
When we've asked to relocate them, then we have gotten the permission to, when we've tried to relocate them, especially for like the folks in the community, we've gotten a lot of pushback.
So they don't see the,
When they're at an angle, it's easy to get it and go, I guess. You know, we do not have generally a lot of complaints about how roads are tied into certain angles and skewed intersections. The biggest complaint, the biggest issue we have is whenever the state widens the road, they don't tie the radius back. Now, when they add another foot, then there should be enough room there to make that curve, but most people don't. That's probably the most common complaint that I get about where we intersect the state roads, because sometimes they just, lit down real quick, and it's not a smooth transition. But the two is like whenever you're going and you used to have this radius that was uniform.
right.
And then they come another, 2 feet or whatever it may be, and now you've got this radius that's like this and stops. And now they're running off the corner with a trailer or whatever it may be. But skewed intersections, Not really. And then, we try to pay attention to safety, traffic data and all that other stuff as far as like crashes and stuff. And we haven't found a lot of times that are, most of our issues are vegetation, not being able to see.
Thank you.
One question, talking about crashes, it kind of segues into that pretty well. DOT or State Road 123 there at North Walnut, right there in front of the Spinks gas station, Water Sports Central, there's a wreck there once every 4 weeks, it seems like. And there's no traffic light on the Water Sports Central side.
Yeah.
We've asked DOT that before. They said, well, that was the developer's responsibility. But apparently there wasn't anything when it was being developed to say, hey, you need to have put in that side traffic light.
Right.
And then now it seems like it's a reactive thing. Well, there's got to be so many crashes or so many deaths before that light side will be added.
Right.
Is there anything like that from a county standpoint that we should have reacted to, or that now it's in place that we do react to that to require a developer? And maybe that's a completely misunderstood statement, that it wasn't the developer's fault, that DOT just didn't put a light there when they allowed that access point.
Not that I can think of as far as what a developer was required to do and didn't, that we required it and they didn't. Some things develop over time and yeah, it could have been different. High tech, biggest one I can think of, and not having a turn lane that's, synced up with Walmart. But that used to be, it wasn't too long ago, that was a gravel, nothing road.
But now we have some of those stop gaps in place that we can put those off to the developer if that's the case.
Oh, yeah. Now would be a completely different, but again, that's tying into the DOT, so DOT generally.
Yeah, and I realized that was a real DOT
controls
question.
that, but for us, then I'm just thinking of like something along the lines of what you're saying. But high tech would be the one that would be, but again, it's got the sewer, right there at it, and it's just one of those things that just never got solved, was that kind of thing, and then Walmart moves across the road, and here we go. So, but no, not really on our stuff, and generally, for the most part that I can think of, most of the time the developers that we work with and are looking at coming in, generally they tie to state roads. It's more common than not, and two, they do whatever is asked of them to. Now sometimes it's a process to get there, but most of the time they do what they're asked to do to meet the ordinances. Yeah.
You talked about PCI.
Yes, sir.
You said that was pavement coverage.
Pavement condition index.
Condition index.
Yes, sir.
Scale of 1 to 100.
Yes, sir. 0 to 100.
So when you said we got a 72 this past time, was that PCI? Is that
That
what that
was for every paved road in the county, the general condition of the network. Now, there's some that are 20s
Right.
out there.
So how have you seen that trend going in the last 5 or 10 years?
Since I came here in 09, and when I came here in 09, there was no set aside funding for paving. So it was kind of like what was left over, and we may get 300,000 or whatever else. So now it's way better.
So do y'all trend those scores? Are they annual?
Yeah, when we do the next run and have somebody come in and assess them again, then that will be, the new baseline of what we had before. So generally, that's a 7-8 year process, and we're probably looking at doing it this year to have somebody else come back in. But again, it's an overview. So like, it's lasers reading, the condition of the asphalt, and sometimes like if it's wet, it'll throw that off. But they're not supposed to run when it's wet. But we had like one. We had two. We had 2 roads in the ones that we had before that we had to sit there and tell them, this is obviously not right, because the road was in perfect shape, and they had like a 30 on the PCI, but we were looking to add it to the paving contract, went out there, and the road was great, in great shape. But, that's kind of the thing of like that was the first year we had ever done it. It's pretty new technology, to do that. And if you got somebody to come and do a PCI, pavement conditioning index of your whole system, it's pretty expensive, and a lot, really time consuming, because
So
the way it is.
what's your assessment over the last 10 years of our road conditions? Have they improved or degraded?
I think that they have improved as far as the condition of the asphalt, but again, like the drainage, and stuff like that is a concern. In places where that drainage is a concern and has been a concern, then you're probably gonna have worse asphalt. So probably holding our own to that extent. We've paved more than we have, but it's hard to, get out and do the routine maintenance that's gonna keep them in better shape. We've historically been a special projects crew for the county. That's gotten less, and we have less people, but that's gotten less. So trying to get back into going out and doing more of the routine maintenance is paramount to what we're doing, and trying to beat that curve and get higher.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
I just want to say, we're lucky to have you. Stay with us.
Well, thank you for that. But the crews, and I'll put it that way, you're lucky to have the crews you got. The guys that actually.
I know we're lucky to have you
Yeah.
too.
Well, thank you for that. Thank you for that.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
I'd like to thank you for all the information.
Yeah.
Ma'am, do you have a question?
I do. I was wondering, you guys were so efficient in getting through your whole agenda in like 3 minutes at the beginning of the meeting. I didn't know if you had any time for the public to voice their opinions.
You wanna leave public, it's up to y'all. You can have a public comment at the end.
Let us-
I make a motion for her to comment as a
Thank you.
public comment.
Dismiss Kyle. Thank you, Kyle.
Thank you.
Go ahead, ma'am. Come up to and state your name,
So
please.
second?
Second.
You guys were so
Vote on-
efficient.
Aye.
Efficiency is always nice, but. So bear with me, I'm not a public speaker at all. I'm a nurse, not a public speaker. So, my name's Hannah Lowe. I live on 6644 West Oak Highway, right there on 24 in Oakway. It's great traffic right there in Oakway. I'll be transparent with you. No, as you can tell by my accent, I'm not from here originally. I'm married to a local, and his family has owned a farm in Oakway since 1855. I'm transparent because I would like you guys to be transparent with me, just like I'm transparent with you. I'm here because I'm from the great state of Florida originally, and unfortunately right now, I see what I've been seeing in Florida for years is housing development after housing development after housing development pop up. And this state is so great. This county is so beautiful. It has trees, it has mountains, it has animals. Just like the great state of Florida has all their preserves, but unfortunately, it's been eaten up. And just like in Florida, unfortunately, they build all these housing developments and they destroy the land. And then most of the people that live in those housing developments are people, not the local people, but people that live here for 6 months and then go back, but the land's destroyed already. And then people think, well, why is there a wild animal on my front porch? Why is there an alligator on my front porch? Well, you just destroyed the preserve. And a lot of people in this county are not happy with the housing developments that are popping up, but they feel like they can't speak because they feel like everyone in the government, the local government, is shaking hands with developers. And I just wanted to speak. My grandma always said, if you don't vote, you can't complain. So I'm here voicing my opinion because if you don't say anything, then you have no right to complain. And I would hate for this county to end up like Florida's ending up right now, with people on top of people on top of people on top of people. Like we were just talking about the traffic. I live on Highway 24. Do you guys live on a major highway when you have cars zooming by your house 60, 70 miles an hour? My house is over 100 years old. So that house has been there long before that road was there. But I would love to see the next generation of people be able to enjoy the land, enjoy the rivers, enjoy the lakes. I bet you guys skip rocks on the rivers, climb trees. I bet some of you still climb trees. I bet you do. So I'm just here as voicing my opinion. Like, I understand there has to be housing. I understand that. But they're just popping up everywhere. And I don't know if the committee, maybe you are, maybe you're not, really thinking about what's going to happen to the next generation when there's nothing left. There's nothing left. So, and then, I mean, do you want to pass down concrete? Or do you want to pass down forests and land? There's still people, as a nurse, I know there's still people out there that use Appalachian Mountain medicine. They use the herbs, they use the trees, they use the weeds that people think are weeds to heal themselves. I hear about it every day in the ER. So do you want to preserve that heritage, or do you want to destroy it? So that's just, I want to say, just think about it before we keep approving housing developments. I get it, people need somewhere to live, but do we want to destroy everything? So I just wanted to voice my opinion, and, maybe you guys can just think about what you want to leave to the next generation of people. Whether you have kids or whether you don't have kids, there's still going to be, God willing, a next generation. And as a Christian, I believe I'm a steward of the land, even though, according to my holy book, I have dominion over the land, but that doesn't mean I destroy the land. So I'm a steward of it, and I don't destroy it. I mean, I have a little worm farm at my house. I live on a farm. We raise cattle. And I also do compost. I'm the crazy compost lady around Seneca. I collected 120 pounds of coffee grounds just from 313 this past month so that I could build soil, so I could grow more food, so I could feed more people. But what are we going to do when it's all gone? I don't know about you, but a green pepper doesn't come from a grocery store. You got to grow it. Cows don't just magically pop up on the shelf. You kind of have to have land to raise those too. So that's what I have to say, and I hope you guys will just consider it. So.
Yeah, thank you for speaking.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. If there's nothing else,
Motion to adjourn.